What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMALOTN. This week, we're going over UFC Vegas 27, headlined by a great bantamweight fight between Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt. Decent card all around, right? We got Yan Xiaonan fighting Carlo Esparza in the co-main event. Very excited about that one in terms of the positional rankings and all that type of stuff. And Xiaonan has definitely been somebody that I've been really high on ever since she made her UFC debut. So I can't wait to see if she's able to get that next step and eventually get that title shot. If she beats Esparza, I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up getting a title shot after that. A couple other fights sprinkled out throughout the card. I like my guy Holly and Paiva coming back as well after a little bit of a layoff. Jack Hermansson versus Edmen. Shahbazyan was supposed to go down last week. That one's coming back too. Bill Algeo versus Ricardo, another fight that happened that was scheduled for a couple of weeks ago, possibly even a couple months ago at this point in time. And now they are scheduled to throw down this weekend. Tons of great stuff, not to mention probably my dark horse in the lightweight division. We got my guy Damir Ismagulov making his return after an extended layoff. I believe he had a bunch of injuries and all that type of stuff, but I'm excited to break it down for you guys no matter what. Let's see what the chat is saying first and foremost, and then we'll get into the breakdowns for you guys. A little bit delayed, obviously. Normally I do this at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. I've been running around a lot today too. The pre-recorded podcast, so I didn't drop one last week. I will be dropping one tomorrow. Again, this is for this stream specifically, I like to keep it a little bit more brief, just so I give my take, see what the chat is saying, and then get on to the next fight. My pre-record podcast that I drop for it is a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more detail, a little bit longer too. So if you guys want a little bit more information, that's a podcast you guys want to check out. But as of right now, the live show, I love doing the live show for you guys. It's been a hit since I started it, and we'll see how we do at this 10 p.m. slot. Again, it's always going to be 8 p.m. moving forward, but today just need to push it back a couple hours due to a couple things. I will say one thing I just wanted to check out. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. I'll hop into the chat real quick to see what everybody's saying. All right. Let us see what the chat is saying today. Sarich123 saying, why so late this time? Yeah, just had a lot of shit to do today. Again, if you guys remember, I got my new car on Friday. And today I just went to go get oil change, new tires, all that type of shit. Had a lot of running around to drop off the wife, pick up the wife, and I just wouldn't be able to have my research finished in time to go live for you guys. So I just need an extra 2 hours, and thankfully it's done more than enough for me. So I'm really looking forward to dropping it for you guys. Josh Van, interested in a short recap. I got bent over last Saturday. We always do recaps here. Again, I don't really do a prediction recap because more so I focus on betting. I'm not expecting to have a crazy prediction record, but I'm expecting to have a decent betting record. And we ended up in the money last weekend, so I'll obviously go over that for you guys. Brian T, 6 minutes before the start of the show, and already won. Just like, what tool would waste the time doing that? Got some haters, my guy. There's always going to be haters, especially when you get to this pedestal, when you get to this level. And again, I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back or jerk myself off for you guys or anything like that. But again, it's bound to happen. Not surprised. Let's just put it that way. DPS, everyone got bent. That's what a night of less than minus 200 fights will do to you. Exactly. Told you this is not a card to go out there and parlay, and that's exactly what happened. A lot of people got fucked. Sean O'Brien saying 8 of 12 on Saturday and still came out a loss because the big bucks were on Burgos and Grundy. Yeah, man. I think overall I was 4-8, 4 wins, 8 losses in terms of predictions. Crazy fights though. Kung Dao Chicken saying probably Parlay King is the one just like, I'm not even going to say anything about that guy. MMA Savant is saying Grundy seemed like such a logical pick. I was surprised that the takedowns weren't more for him. Yeah. Vanata's showing off, right? Like a lot of people are kind of counting him out, and I think he took that that move down to 145 pounds super seriously. The guy looked in great shape. Cardi looked good. Hats off to him. Rami saying, where you at, kid? Oiling up the beard. I actually did not get to get the oil going for the beard today, so hopefully it still looks as magnificent as most people make it out to be. SKD in the chat, what's going on, my brother? Sean O'Brien, I knew Grundy was nothing special, but expected Venata to be washed. He looked really good, yeah. He's turning back the clock a little bit. So shout out to Mr. Lando Venata. My guy MMA Kappa saying, what up, Lock? Cop the tape and X, hella fucking with it as I taped main event Silva Rodriguez fast. Yeah, exactly. Luckily, so next weekend we actually have off from UFC, so I intend on using that time very, very meticulously, and especially with getting ahead with the tape index. That's one thing that I prided myself on before, was having the tape index pretty much updated for every single fight that was announced at this point in time, and that's where I want to get back to. Again, since we've changed the format of it with the ESPN Plus links, it's kind of slowed down things since I've had to change coding and do a bunch of shit like that. But yeah, next weekend off is amazing for me to get ahead on a bunch of different shit. So really looking forward to that. SKD saying, am I wrong for loving Hermansson in this podcast and considering hammering it? I will get to that very shortly, dude. My guy Narco Cop in the chat, what's going on, buddy? D Brown saying, oh yeah, Oliveira came through, man. He came through heavy. Cowboy Fight Picks, what's up, man? Pretty hope you're well. Hope you're well too, my brother. I appreciate you stopping by. Kung Dao Chicken saying, last week's Lock of the Night was money. Chukagian Arujo fight goes to decision. Chandler Oliveira fight doesn't go to decision. Although Chukagian was close to tapping in that first round. Yeah, that was a close submission. I'm trying to remember what she was actually in, but yeah, happy to hit that. But the main Lock of the Night play was the under 2.5 of the main event, and that definitely hit. Cowboy Fight Picks, I need advice for small UFC prediction channels. Just stay consistent. Be reliable. Put out stuff that you are proud to put out. Don't just put out something that everybody's putting out. Try to make yourself a little bit different. Predictions are always going to be predictions, but try to make your show in a way that is going to stand out from the others. UCF Rob, what's up? You get the Audi? I did get the Audi. It looks fucking hella fly. Nicholas West in the chat. That's my guy right there. What's good, brother? Ready for a Savage Saturday? I'm really looking forward to that, my guy. Luke Fulton, what's up, Lock? I hit that cash roar prop at 6.45. Thanks to you mentioning it. For sure, man. I thought that was a no-brainer, even if you're picking Gina Mazzani to win, which I was. But we knew that the win condition for Cachoeira would be that knockout, and she came through with that. I wish that I actually bet it, though. Ken Noah's beard is definitely magnificent. How many years do you have to invest into that beast? It doesn't take long, dude. It does not take long for me. I'm trying to remember the last time I trimmed it where it was almost skin. It's been a while, but it doesn't take that long. When you have Indian genes, it doesn't take that long. Rami is just saying, I'm just glad we don't have to prop up Mazzani anymore. Exactly. That was crazy. My guy Dan is saying Yancy Medeiros is a lock. Not sure if I agree with you, but we will hop into that very, very shortly. Dimitris Bed. Again, always going to butcher that. I was 4-5, but my losses were Chandler KO, Vivi decision, Oliveira sub, Soriano KO, and Lee decision. Now I'm out of those losses. All were plus money, almost all happened. Yeah, the Lee decision was an intriguing one, right? Because she pulled off the submission there. Very surprised. SKD, what model Audi? I used to have an A4. I loved it. I have an A5, S-Line A5. Very, very beautiful. Justin Villegas, MMA Lachlan, I use beard oil. My shit get 10 swirl tangles. Starts looking like Gimli, Lord of the Rings. Not feeling beard oil, just waste. Maybe beard oil and shower once a week. Yes, I know, irrelevant. No, I try to throw it on anytime I go out or before I do a stream or something like that. It just gives it that nice glisten. I don't know what it is. Cowboy Fight Picks, thanks for the advice, man. I'm releasing petitions on Sunday. Tough getting it up and running. Again, just stay consistent, and then you'll get into that routine, and it's going to get easier. Trust me. I've been doing this shit for close to 4 years. In terms of podcasting, maybe 2.5 years now, but it's awesome. Sun Tzu, my guy, driving naughty with that beer. How are you not getting modeling work? It's just a matter of time. I've only had the car for 3 days. Give me a minute. All right, let's not waste too much more time. Let me get my slideshow going for you guys, making it look nice and pretty as usual for you guys. And as we always do, the first thing that we're going to be going over is how we did on the last event. Let me just pull up my screen. Don't share the audio. And there we go. All right, so Last week in UFC 262, again, you guys know my lock of the night style. It's just very low volume for official bets. I do give out on the Patreon. I do give out my close to betting spots where I throw like untracked plays on there and stuff that I was close to betting if I were going to be slinging out some more official units or anything like that. But safe and efficient method as always. I wish I went the full 5 units on the under 2.5 for the lock of the night play, but I was burned the week before by the under 2.5 in the Kaldaukas and Phil Haas fight. And I felt a little PTSD. I won't lie. I was a little bit skeptical about it. Even some people on my Patreon were like, oh, we're going with totals again. I'm like, guys, it's Charles Oliveira. You got it. You got to go with the under. Obviously, last time around, it didn't cash because he took Tony Ferguson to a decision. But with that said, I was still happy to take the under 2.5 here. Not many spots I felt super confident about, right? Like, again, I only went 4 and 8 on fucking predictions overall. My next safest play, or my next 2 safest plays that I had in mind, were Shane Burgos, who obviously got knocked the fuck out, and then Gina Mazzani, who also got knocked the fuck out. So I credit my patience in terms of waiting to pull the trigger on the spot that I felt most confident about, and ultimately ended up being the under 2.5 in the Oliver Chandler fight. So I would have won. I all in all, I cashed out about $1,500 in official and unofficial bets. And if Michael Chandler had actually secured that first round knockout, it would have been closer to $4,000, and that would have been way better. But I'll still take a nice profit of $1,500. And then obviously the dog of the night play, Michael Chandler, 1.25 units, that misses at plus 105. Shout out to Charles Oliveira. I'll stop talking about how this guy can break and blah, blah, blah. Like, the guy is definitely over that hill. Chandler did push him. Chandler got him into an uncomfortable position, was close to finishing him. Charles Oliveira comes back and eventually finishes Mike Chandler quickly after that, starting in the second round. So again, all credit to Charles Oliveira. I'll stop talking shit about him. Will I bet against him in the future? Again, maybe, depending on the line and depending on the opponent. But the one thing I'll always be looking forward to is hitting that under. As long as it's 2.5, I'd always like 3.5. But Charles Oliveira fights, I'd be surprised if we get anything. More or better than 2.5 when we go over that. So again, all in all, we slightly bounced back from the miserable weekend we had the week before. Again, Bellator 258 and UFC Vegas 26, I believe it was. Shit show all around. The only glimmering part of that weekend was hitting Neil Magny. So this weekend we come back and chip away at that loss that we had from last weekend. So plus 1.17 units. I wish it was more, but again, slow and steady wins the race. And that's exactly the approach that we're going to be taking here. It's just a matter of time before we hit that 9, 10, 11 event winning streak once again. It was bound to happen. I'm glad it happened ASAP, and now I can get back to it and hopefully start putting together another run for you guys, because that's definitely something that a lot of people are looking forward to. All right, let's see what the chat is saying, and then I will continue on with the breakdowns that we got. Bora brush for the beards, gents. Yeah, that's the way to do it. My guy Rummy knows what's good. Joe is in the house. He's definitely in the house. Cowboy fight picks. I wouldn't bet Gino with the 10-foot pole. That KO prop for Priscilla was alive though. Yeah, for sure. Kenoz, thanks for sharing your wins and losses in dollar amounts. I enjoy listening to you because I know for a fact you're wagering real money every week. No bragging about $20 wins over here, over there. Yeah. Transparency, guys. This is like the sleaziest industry you could be a part of outside of hookers and shit. Gambling is obviously something that can be a lot of people can take other people advantage of. And I want to be as transparent as possible. I drop my bet slips. I share everything with you guys as much as possible. I know I'm not the best out there in terms of racking up all these fucking hundreds and 200s of units, but I know that I can guarantee you guys will always get transparency and honesty from me. And yeah, close to 400 people on the Patreon. Trust me for doing that. Actually, not close to. We are over 400 Patreon members. So shout out to the Patreon members. I didn't even plug the Patreon. Again, I am slacking in regards to the dropping the early breakdowns for you guys on the Patreon. Got to get my ass on that again. Again, last week I didn't do a pre-recorded one because I didn't do any of them. I only did my live show. So that's something that I got to get back on. But yeah, shout out to the Patreon members. Again, we hit that 400 milestone last week. 500 is up next, but we got to get that streak going once again and start getting these dubs. And this past weekend was obviously a very good spot. So once again, shout out to the Patreon members that are on there. I will get off my butt and start making up excuses. Again, they're not excuses, legitimate reasoning as to why I haven't been as active in terms of dropping the early breakdowns. But yeah, that's got to be taken care of. But everything else still delivered as normal. Best bets and props article coming out for you guys tomorrow. We'll do some Bellator as well. I don't think I'll do pre-recorded breakdowns for Bellator. For Bellator, I'll probably just do the live stream on the day of the fight, morning of the fight. I'll probably do it. Maybe Thursday night. We'll see what happens. Thursday night is usually propping you up. I don't want to do back-to-back streams that day, especially with how much people love the propping you up show. So I want to give as much energy on that show as possible. But yeah, shout out to the Patreon members. Link is in the description below if you guys want to join up on there. Again, it's just not for picks. It's not just for picks. It's to support your boy doing the content creation, and then a couple other perks there, including a great Discord community, which has really been popping lately. Had a troll in there for a couple days and gave him all the chances possible, but eventually gave him the boot. But yeah, everybody's positive, super awesome group there. So shout out to anybody that's watching the stream right now. That's on the Patreon and that's on the Discord channel as well. All right, let me shut up about the Discord and. Yeah, my guy Ken Knowles just got me on a little bit of a tangent here in terms of sharing my wins and losses. We need to see more of that. Justin Villegas, my underdogs got cooked. Damn, my money tell me it was craving for them, but got disappointed. They got tossed in the trash. Yeah, very, very bad weekend for a lot of people this past week. Big Bird, PH, Ismagulov, Silva, B, Parlay of the Week. I don't mind that. I do not mind that at all. Dan saying, let's go with Ismagulov and Culibao for the lock of the night. I don't mind that either. Charles Oliver coming through with the under 2.5. I love it. Shout out to my guy, pay-per-view Dizzle. All right, let's move into the breakdowns now. Let's not waste too much more time here. First and foremost, we got Rafael Alves going up against Damir Ismagulov. If you guys remember Alves, he was scheduled to fight a couple of weeks ago. I don't recall his opponent. Let me see if I can just pull that up real quick. But he was supposed to fight somebody and came in hella overweight. I believe he missed by 11 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. And that was not a good look, especially coming in from the Contender Series where he looked like a solid fighter. Yeah, he was scheduled to fight Mike Trizano. Trizano pulls out. Pat Sabatini jumps in. And then Alves missed weight as bad as he did. And they did not clear that fight at all. That was February 20th. So we're talking just over 3 months later, he steps back into the cage now, and hopefully he can step onto the scale, make the weight. It's going to be the same weight that he fought at last time. And I think it's, I believe it's the same weight. But regardless, he needs to make the weight here against Damir Ismagulov, who has been outside of the cage a lot for a long time himself. You know, I mean, we're talking about Ismagulov. The last time we saw him was August of 2019, coming up close to that 2-year mark since he had beaten Thiago Moises. And obviously that win looks really good in hindsight now, considering that Thiago Moises is on a bit of a run, including his big win over Alexander Hernandez last time. And now he's scheduled to fight Mr. Islam Makhachev. So good win for Damir Ismagulov back then. 22-1 record, a Kazakh fighter, has a lot of solid skills about him, but mainly being his striking is like next level. Most of his wins are coming by decision as of late, but the guy is just a very good technician when it comes to the striking realm. He goes out there, puts together great combinations, but doesn't overextend too much in terms of risking it to go out there and try to get a finish of any sort. And, you know, I get why people aren't as high on him, considering that, you know, why isn't he going out there and getting finishes, and why doesn't he, you know, he should have finished that guy Alex Georges, who he fought in his UFC debut as a minus 550 favorite. But it's a style, right? There's a lot of Ramazan Ameev is another guy that, like, I feel like Ismagulov has a way higher ceiling than Ameev, but like they just fight super safe. They just want to get the dub. They want to continue to build that streak. And you know, Ismagulov 22-1. That's a very impressive record. His only loss was way back in 2015. He lost a decision there. And then since then has put together a tremendous streak where he's been able to turn away guys, a couple KO finishes on the regional scene. But obviously when he's been fighting guys, you know, in the UFC or even later into his M1 career, he's going to a decision with them because he's just so clean and crisp with the strikes. And that's where I truly think is going to be his best path to victory here against Rafael Alves. Alves throws big heat in his strikes. He could potentially be live for a first round KO if Damir isn't really on his game, considering he's been off for as long as he has. But I do think that Ismagulov is just, I don't feel like he's the fighter that a 2-year layoff would truly affect to that extent to lose to a guy like Rafael Alves. Now, Alves black belt in jiu-jitsu, but we don't really see too much of it, right? I don't think he has the greatest top pressure, even off of his back. I don't think he's that great. And I also believe that the guy has a little bit of cardio issues. And again, if he's battling against the scales, it's not going to look that great, especially when he's starting to gas against a guy in Damir Ismagulov, who's just going to be outpointing him over the 50-minute mark. This could potentially be a decent third round spot again for Ismagulov, who might be able to have, well, not might be, he will definitely have the much better cardio. And I think that's going to come into play here against Alves, who will slow down in that third round. So I might take a little bit of a sprinkle on Ismagulov to win in round 3. Let's see what that's sitting at right now. Again, not much of a finisher, but given the cardio issues of Mr. Alves, I don't see it as a bad spot. Plus 800. I wish we were getting better than that. Again, if Ismagulov was more of a notorious finisher, I wouldn't mind the plus 800, but I want like plus 4 figures for a third round finish for a guy like Damir Ismagulov, who just hasn't been finishing anybody as of late. So in terms of a prediction, you guys can obviously figure it out. I think Damir Ismagulov goes out there, keeps his fight on the feet, as I believe Alves will probably want to take it to the ground and kind of get his jiu-jitsu game going. But I think Ismagulov has good enough takedown defense that he'll keep this fight on the feet and absolutely outstrike Alves over 15 minutes. There's a reason he's minus 550. And even after a 2-year layoff, I think that's accurate. Probably even deserves to be higher, to be honest. So, yeah, I like Ismagulov. If 550 is too much for you, obviously you can go out there and parlay him. Or Ismagulov to win by decision is at minus 125. And I think that's quite accurate. So once again, I'll go with Ismagulov to win by decision. Let's see what the chat is saying in here. Chris White, shout out to my guy Chris White. No clue who Alves and Ismagulov are. You should know who Ismagulov is. Obviously, not right now, considering he's been out of the UFC for close to 2 years. But I promise, in a couple years, you'll know exactly who he is. He's 30 years old, so he's got to get it going right now. But definitely the dark horse in the 155-pound division. My guy Jamwin Gong saying could consider going live earlier. It's 3 a.m. in Europe. Yeah. I apologize. Normally it's 8 p.m. Eastern that I go live, which is 1 a.m. for you guys. But today I had to push it back a little bit, so I apologize. Yes, Alex Weber. Thank you for clarifying that for me. I don't know why I thought it was at 155. You were right. It was at 145. Right there with you. Right there with you. He weighed in at 156 or 157 last time around. Justin Villegas, lock of the night, lock of the week, Damir Ismagulov. I will never tip a fighter that's minus 550 straight. Never. Ruyes Rahat saying 4:30 a.m. in Amsterdam. You guys are absolute savages staying up as late as I did. Like him by decision minus 120. I don't mind that. He weighed in at 157, 12 pounds over. Technically 11 pounds over. Again, they usually give them a 1 pound allowance for non-title fights. But we'll see. Very tough fight for him to get back to. Big Bird PH. So where has Damir been for the last 2 years? I believe he had an injury he was doing with, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to confirm that. I believe he did have an injury. Yeah, it's not coming up. If I'm not mistaken, he may have actually had a car accident as well. But I will confirm that. You know what? Give me a second. I will confirm exactly that for you guys. You may not have been speaking to somebody that knows him very, very well. Give me a second, guys. Ooh. Yeah. Damir has just been injured. No exact reasoning as to why. Cowboys got Damir by decision. I'm right there with you. Rufia saying Damir is more of a point fighter. I agree. Kyle Gomez saying I was making my DFS mix and I remember to like the video. Thank you, brother. That truly helps. Big Bird PH got to go with Damir. Seems like the more well-rounded fighter. Alves might be decent in round 1. Alves slows down in his fights, might lead to a finish. I don't know if he'll get the finish. That's my issue. Arlen M sprinkling Alves KO. He throws a lot of spinning explosive stuff. True. Again, it's possible. Alves KO is not too bad considering the number you're probably going to get. All right. Let's move on to the next fight here. We got up Yancy Medeiros versus Damir Hadzovic. The funny thing is, Damir Hadzovic and Yancy Medeiros, or sorry, Damir Hadzovic and Damir Ismagulov have fought on the same card before. So it's weird that both of Damirs are coming back on the same card here. But regardless, Hadzovic obviously minus 115 here, minus 105 on Yancy. Yancy's a weird one, right? Yancy's one of those guys that like he went on that 3-fight winning streak, capped off by the Eric Silva and Cowboy Oliveira wins a couple years ago, and then it vaulted him into a main event slot against Donny Cowboy Cerrone. He gets knocked out in that fight. Not to mention, he came in as a minus 120 favorite. I've never really been that high on Yancy. I'm not 100% sure where that love came from to make him such a, even the favorite against a guy like Cowboy Cerrone at that fight. Well, in the Oliveira fight, that was an interesting one because I actually had Oliveira as one of my lock of the night plays. I believe I had parlayed him or I got him at a better line than that minus 390 line. But he was having a lot of success against Yancy Medeiros early, almost finished him a couple times. And then Yancy busted up the nose of Oliveira, absolutely smashed it. And and then the cardio of Oliveira just went down the drain. You saw Oliveira start to huff and puff a little bit more, and that's when Yancy Medeiros was able to take over and absolutely finished him in that third round via TKO. So that one was very demoralizing, especially as somebody that was fading Yancy at chalk. As I thought it was a great stylistic matchup for Cowboy Oliveira, which is why I'll always call him the wild card of MMA at this point. And then he goes on a 3-fight losing streak, right? Let's cut him some slack for the Cowboy fight. Let's cut him a little bit more slack for the Gregor Gillespie fight, especially considering he was going in as a plus 375 favorite for that fight. And then Lando Venata, a very underwhelming performance from both guys, to be honest. I thought Venata did a good enough job to win that fight, but still, I didn't rate either guy very highly off of those fights. Yancy Medeiros just doesn't stay active enough. That's another issue that I have with him in terms of being in the cage, getting that cage time. I know he's been a veteran for as long as he has inside the UFC, but to not have fought for as long as he has, I'm just confirming that number right now, February of 2020. So, what is that, 15 months ago, we saw him inside the cage. Maybe he's just chilling out, enjoying that Hawaii weather. Sometimes he's out there with the Stockton guys, with the Diaz brothers, training with them too. With Medeiros, you're going to get decent jiu-jitsu, decent boxing. I don't know. I'm not really sold on his power per se. I think he's a very hittable opponent, and I think that's where Damir Hadzovic is going to have the advantage here. That I think the Hadzovic is a slightly better striker, and obviously has more power in his hands. The issue here, though, is if Yancy Medeiros decides to drag this fight to the ground and try to get his jiu-jitsu going against Damir Hadzovic, who's had issues against guys that take that type of approach, right? Christos Giagos was successful in it. Renato Moicano wraps him up in a submission relatively quickly. Alan Patrick, right? Patrick is a guy we know out there is quite one-dimensional. Doesn't really have the greatest striking, does enough to close the distance, drag the fight to the ground, and then grind these guys out. And it worked out. Does Yancy Medeiros have that type of wrestling? Does Yancy Medeiros have that type of top pressure to actually grind these guys out or grind a guy out like Hadzovic? I don't think so. That's why I lean Hadzovic here. And another thing that kind of surprises me about Yancy Medeiros is he's only 33 years old. That's kind of weird for me. I don't know what it is. I was expecting him to be up in the 35, 36, 37 range at this point. But he's been around the UFC quietly for a long time now, right? Let's see. When did he actually make his UFC debut? So he's a Strikeforce product that came over with Strikeforce, made his UFC debut in April of 2013. It goes on what is that? Loses to Khabilov, hand injury, then goes to a no contest with Eve Edwards. I don't recall what exactly happened that night, and then loses to Jim Miller next. Goes on a 2-fight winning streak, and then just trades wins and losses back and forth. But in terms of his style, I just don't think it's that great matched up here against Damir Hadzovic. So the slight lean is on Hadzovic. I think he's going to land the better strikes. I think he lands the better combinations. And I think he could potentially even knock out Yancy Medeiros here. I'm not 100% sure. I will ultimately go with Hadzovic to win by decision. But what's the Hadzovic KO prop? Plus 425 on Hadzovic by KO. Not bad. Hadzovic by decision is plus 265. So if you have one of those websites that do double chance, I wouldn't mind taking the KO/decision for Hadzovic, as you should get a good line for that. But Hadzovic by knockout, I think is going to be the way that I end up going. Hadzovic by first round knockout plus 800. I think that's a wild line. I think that's worth a little bit of a sprinkle, as I do think he has the power to go out there and put it on Yancy and take him out pretty quickly. All right, let's see what the chat's saying, and then we can keep the train moving along. Kung Dao Chicken saying, stay away from the Medeiros fight. I don't blame you, my guy. I don't blame you. Matt Hudson, Damir, we go again. That's why I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Arlen, both these guys are disappointments. Yeah, to a certain extent. Dan, easiest fight Yancy has had in years. He'll get this one. I wouldn't say that, man. Again, Damir, kind of one-dimensional. Medeiros has to get his jiu-jitsu going if he wants to win this fight, in my opinion. I still lean Damir, man. As a Crusader, if Yancy even somewhat got his act together, he'll win this one. Yeah, good point. Revice got Yancy by decision. This might be his last fight in the UFC, though. Possibly, yeah. He could definitely get cut with the loss here. Nicholas West saying, there's no damn way I'm risking any of my hard-earned roll on either of these two fighters. I'm right there with you. Levi Whiteboy reminding us that Yancy training with Holloway. Yeah, it helps to a certain extent. And I do think that Hadzovic will still end up getting his hand raised here. All right, let's move to the next fight. We got Joshua Culibao versus Yilan Shah, minus 250. Big price tag on Joshua Culibao, who normally is the guy that has the big plus money beside his name, right? You got minus 450 on Charles Jourdain last time he fought. Minus 240 on Jalen Turner when he had fought him in his UFC debut. Now he comes in as the heavy favorite here. And I think that has in part to do with the performance that he put on against Charles Jourdain, right? Rocked him, dropped him a couple times, had a lot of success. There's reason that fight went to a draw. Very close fight, not to mention the fact that, again, Jourdain, minus 450 favorite in that fight and did not complete like it at all. Even in the Marcelo Rojo fight for or Rojo fight for Jourdain did not compete to the level that I thought he did. Again, he ends up getting the dub by getting the finish, so good for him there. But again, he keeps getting these high chalky lines, and I don't think he's deserving of it. But with Joshua Culibao here, I think this is a good stylistic matchup for him. Yilan, decent striking, wide stance, has some decent ground and pound, has some good movement. But the question mark with these Chinese fighters always is level of competition. The only name that I really recognized was his last loss against Zhu Rong, who we saw last time go out there and lose to Mr. Rodrigo Vargas, or Rodrigo Vargas, I should say. The guy's Mexican, not Brazilian. And that was very underwhelming, right? Zhu Rong comes in as the minus 250 favorite into that fight, ends up losing that fight. Yilan Shah here, again, I don't think he has a style to go out there and compete with a very tough nose and hard, or I should say tough and hard-nosed fighter like Joshua Culibao. And I think that's going to end up being his detriment here, as I do think that Culibao will go out there, land the better strikes, mix in a couple takedowns if he needs to, and just win, pretty much throughout. I think that Culibao could actually even knock him out. Again, I need to see a little bit more from Culibao. I was impressed with this fight against Charles Jourdain. Again, very close fight. Probably could have made the case that he ended up winning that fight too. But these Chinese fighters coming over and making their debuts, coming over from the UFC Shanghai Performance Institute and all those types of guys, they're not really panning out. Again, China went 0-4 at UFC 261. They're trying to prop all these guys up, giving them decent matchups and favorable matchups, and they just don't end up getting the win. So I think it's another case of that here. Obviously, they're not matching him out well considering what the odds are here, but I do think that Culibao should win. Would I play him at minus 250? Probably not. This fight's a pass for me, but I'll take Culibao, and I might tinker with that KO prop. Let's see what the KO prop's looking like for us. Culibao by KO plus 350. Wish we were getting a slightly better line there. Let's see what the chat is saying here. Sorry, Rich, I missed the first one. You got Damir? Yes, I got Damir. Yeah, I'm going to go Culibao KO as my official prediction for this fight. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Bruno Silva versus Victor Rodriguez. If you guys remember, Rodriguez came in, if I'm not mistaken, on short notice against Adrian Yanez. Gets knocked the fuck out in a couple of minutes in that fight. But there's a reason that Yanez was a minus 525 favorite going into that fight. Again, completely outmatched, just as I believe he's outmatched here in this fight against Bruno Silva. AFC product, Alaska FC. You guys know I like to rag on those guys a little bit. Maybe I'm a little too hard on them at times, especially with Uroš Medic. Medic seems to be panning out to be a solid fighter. Again, he's training, or he moved his camp down to King's MMA. And I think that's definitely helping him out in terms of rounding out his game and really getting things going, which is why he was, successful in that fight. Mr. Victor Rodriguez, though, I'm having a hard time in terms of finding out if he's made any changes. The guy made his IG private, so you can't really see where he's been training at. But I'm going to assume that he's still up there in Alaska. I'm not sure that he's going to have made the changes to come down to, to the continental USA and actually go out there and, train with a solid team. But even if he did, I think he's still going to run into trouble here with Bruno Silva, who, very good fighter, trains out there with Fight Ready, I believe. One of Cejudo's main training partners, Santino DeFranco, one of his main head corner guys as well. Very, very solid coach. One guy that I highly, highly respect in the game. And this is a great matchup for Bruno Silva, right? The under 2.5 is at minus 145. And I think that's a steal. If you guys want to take Bruno Silva inside the distance, I saw it was roughly at plus 125 when it dropped. Obviously, everybody's banging on the opener there, so it's probably been juiced to shit now. Let's see, Silva inside the distance, minus 115. I wouldn't even be surprised if it goes up to like minus 145, minus 150 by fight time, because I think that this is a great matchup for Silva. Again, I don't rate Rodriguez that much. I'd say fade him while you still can, even if that's at chalk. I think Bruno Silva is very parlayable here, or even take him to win inside the distance. Or again, if you don't have access to the inside the distance line, the under 2.5 at minus 145, minus 160 is pretty much like playing Bruno Silva straight here, as I do think that Silva ends up finishing him. We saw Silva last time around there go out there and fight against JP Bays in a very high volume fight, back and forth first round, and then eventually in that second round, JP starts to slow down a little bit. Bruno Silva takes advantage and then knocks him out. Beautiful, beautiful finish from there. But the fight that really got me to notice Bruno Silva was the Tagir Ulanbekov fight. That's a fight where I did the cheap thing or the square thing, if you want to call it, and I parlayed Ulanbekov that night with somebody else, cashed that bet. And if I'm not mistaken, I still think that that the second fight was a close fight too, which ended up cashing that parlay. But Bruno Silva did a really good job in terms of stuffing takedowns, limiting the amount of control time from Tagir. Because Tagir, if you guys watched his regional footage, he was a guy that really was highly reliant on getting takedowns, top control, threatening with submissions, staying on top, landing some good ground and pound. And Bruno Silva was having none of that. Bruno was doing a good job of stuffing those and doing some good damage of his own. And once we got to the judges' scorecards, I was like, ooh, this one's going to be tough. This one, it's going to be hairy. And I think that Bruno Silva deserved to get his hand raised. Luckily for Ulanbekov, he gets his hand raised, and Silva ends up taking an elder. Luckily for Silva, he ends up coming back and gets the win over JP Bays to kind of save his job. I just wanted to pull up the MMA decisions here for Ulanbekov versus Silva, because I do remember it being very hairy. Wow, there's way more scorecards for Ulanbekov than I thought from the media. I swear that fight was super close. In terms of fan scoring on MMA decisions, 34 fan votes. We had a 65% 10-9 for Silva round 1 and 65% 10-9 Silva round 3. So is what it is. Very, very close fight. Regardless, I got Bruno Silva winning this fight any which way he wants, whether it's a submission, whether it's a knockout. Victor Rodriguez has some decent power in his hands, and that's something that that we need to actually admit is a threat. It absolutely is a threat, but I do think that we've seen Bruno Silva go out there and fight much heavier punchers, much more technical punchers, and kind of survive to tell the tale. And I expect him to do the same thing here, but absolutely demolish Victor Rodriguez. So I'm going Bruno Silva, and I'm going with him by finish, probably first or second round. And see what the round props are for Silva. Silva round 1 plus 250, Silva round 2 plus 400. I think it happens in one of those 2 rounds. But I got Bruno Silva to demolish this kid. All right, let's see what the chat be saying. Daniel K. Silva should take this one easy. Take down Victor. Yeah, I agree. MMA Kappa, Bruno Silva via whatever he wants, hopefully inside the distance. I agree. Narco Cop fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 140 is a bargain. Yeah. Narcocop Silva inside the distance plus 125. That has definitely gotten steamed by everybody who noticed that. But yeah, I still think it has some value where it's sitting at. I think it has value up to like minus 150, minus 200. I think he finishes them pretty much every time they fight each other. Yeah, I do not think that highly of Victor Rodriguez, and this is a very good spot for him to go out there and get that win. MMA Kappa, Victor's first time at 125 as well. Potential gas tank issues. V-Rod, reckless from the tape I saw. Yeah, he not the greatest technical striker. Again, he's just fighting these. Again, I hate calling them, but these bums on the Alaska regional scene, and makes a name for himself there, and eventually comes over to the UFC. TJ Kill, that Tagir fight way closer than the scorecards. When I remember I had Silva as a big dog. Yeah, I thought that was a Silva fight. Darth Vader, Silva was going to get cut and have to bend the knee to keep his job, if you know what I mean. AJ's bets in the chat. What's going on, my brother? All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Court McGee going up against Claudio Silva. Now, look at that rough stretch for Mr. Court McGee. 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Respectable losses to some of those guys, right? Sean Strickland goes out there, outpoints him over 15 minutes, gets the win there. Beats Alex Garcia as a very big dog, and Alex Garcia, if I'm not mistaken, ended up getting his walking papers after that fight. But good one for Court McGee there. And then he goes out there and just shits the bed. You know, Diego Lima shows hella improved takedown defense in that fight and just pieces up Court McGee, ends up getting the win in that fight via decision. Sean Brady, you know, solid performance from Court McGee. We saw Sean Brady work as hard as he's ever worked in any of his UFC fights. That was the fight. You know, a lot of people thought Sean Brady had poor cardio. You know, Court McGee was making that fight a little bit closer than it should have been. So decent performance from Court McGee there, even in a loss, but up against an up and comer like Sean Brady, I'm not too mad at it. And then the Carlos Condit fight, that one was the one that kind of mystified me the most, because if I'm not mistaken, we didn't even get one takedown attempt from Court McGee in that fight. Let me clarify that though, without talking out of my ass. I know he didn't even complete one takedown. Yeah, didn't even attempt a takedown either. And if anybody was betting Court McGee that night, I'm sure you were pulling out your hair. I was close to actually making Court McGee like a lock of the night play that night, because I thought the line was great, and I thought all he needed was, you know, one takedown a round or one takedown in 2 rounds to go out there and beat Carlos Condit. But Condit came back, you know, springs the small upset as a plus 110 favorite, and pretty much just outstrikes Court McGee over that 50-minute period and gets that decision victory. But, you know, McGee seemed like he was slowing down a little bit. 36 years old, seems like he's at the end of his rope, going up against a 38-year-old Claudio Silva, who's 14-2, which is crazy, right? He was on a crazy run, just never stayed active enough, and then he finally gets that loss to James Krause last time out. That was a fight where I was on James Krause. I thought that was a great stylistic matchup, considering that the way that Claudio Silva more often than not seems to fade in his fights. And I thought that if James Krause was able to get out of that first round, he would be able to have as much fun as he wanted in terms of, you know, being successful with that pitter-patter game that he has from the outside and land some good strikes from there. Now, tough fight for me to call, right? On one side, I like fading the gas tank of Claudio Silva against specific opponents. But then on the other side, you know, there's Court McGee, who just doesn't look anywhere close to what we used to know of him. You know, the guy that would go out there, get takedowns, get some good control time, kind of push you up against the cage and really mess you up that way. But man, it's tough. I don't know which way to lean here. I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days, and I still don't really have a fleshed out lean. I'll go with McGee. Soft, you know, midweek lean here. I'll go with Court McGee. I really can't make up my mind about this fight. I think he should go out there and kind of just outwork Claudio Silva. I think he does a good enough job in terms of nullifying the amount of damage and takedowns that are coming his way. Does a good job in terms of nullifying control time as well. Claudio Silva is just another level, you know, black belt in jiu-jitsu compared to what Court McGee has faced over the last couple of fights. So maybe Claudio's a little bit more successful in terms of dragging this fight to the ground and getting a submission going. But when's the last time we actually saw Court McGee lose by submission? I don't think we have. He won by submission twice in his first 2 fights in the UFC. But in terms of his full-out career, let me just confirm this number. But I don't think we've ever seen Court McGee subbed. Yeah. Never been subbed in his career. So has he fought anybody to the level of Claudio Silva in terms of jiu-jitsu? Sean Brady, solid jiu-jitsu player, but that was his first fight in the UFC. I'll give him a pass there. Sean Strickland, brown belt, obviously not the level of Claudio Silva. Ben Saunders in 2017. It's Ben Saunders in 2017, and then any other fighters don't really come close to what Claudio Silva brings to the table in terms of the jiu-jitsu room. All I'll say is I think this is a stay away fight. I know some people are big on Court McGee in this spot considering Claudio Silva's poor gas tank, but there's a reason he was only plus 100 to James Krause. I mean, there's a reason he was minus 150 against Danny Roberts. There's performances and stylistic approaches and matchups that make him a very favorable fighter in certain times, but Court McGee does a good job in terms of nullifying the damage that's coming his way. I'll go Court McGee. I think he ends up staying away from the takedowns and just picks apart Claudio Silva on the feet, and then Claudio just gasses out. Maybe Court McGee third round finishes is something that people want to look at. Let me pull up what that number is. McGee round 3 plus 1,600. Not too bad. But again, Court McGee, not a notorious finisher either. So that is a little bit of a concern. But yeah, official prediction for this podcast is going to be Claudio Silva. Court McGee by decision. I apologize. All right, let's see what the chat is saying here, and then we'll move on. TGK saying stream keeps cutting out. Does it now? I apologize, guys. I'm not sure. Usually it gives me like a little marker on my StreamYard account here letting me know that that I'm having connection issues or something like that, but it's not showing anything like that. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully you guys can still hear my audio. We'll see. UCF Rob is saying I think it's a YouTube issue. It's been going on most of the night. Okay, yeah, I think it's probably YouTube. Again, I usually get like when you guys are looking for bars and reception on your cell phone, it usually gives you the bars sign. I'm not getting the bars sign here at all, so I apologize. Silva all the way. Darth Vader stream working on my CPU, but I tried on my phone. It's fucking my phone. That's weird. Danny K took McGee against Conor Brutal end of round 1. That threw him off for rounds 2 and 3. Yeah. TJ Kill, yeah, the wins will tell us a lot with this one. I absolutely agree with that. Narco Cop, let me know my stream is cutting off too. I think it's a YouTube issue. I apologize, guys. Again, I don't see anything on my end in terms of telling me that it's fucking up. Fuck. Damn, you guys damn, you guys are absolutely hammering me with the YouTube issue right now. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, guys. I'm even rewatching it myself right now, and it seems to be going fine. All right, but I'm going to continue as the stream is going. Yeah, I'm going to keep the stream going. So ultimately, I will go with McGee by decision here. Round 3 is obviously intriguing considering the poor gas tank from Claudio Silva. But close fight. I have zero confidence in this fight, but I will ultimately go with the Claudio Silva, or sorry, with the Court McGee side. Fuck, I did it again. God damn it. All right. Next fight, we got Ben Rothwell versus Chris Barnett, minus 310 on Big Ben Rothwell. And plus 255 on Chris Barnett. For people who have been around MMA for a while now, you guys know exactly who Chris Barnett is. Hugly Bear, if I'm not mistaken, is his nickname. Very entertaining fighter, very deceptive in terms of what he brings to the table physically. Considering how athletic he actually seems to be, doing flips and all of his dancing and the craziness that he brings to the table. Beast Boy is obviously what his other nickname is. Very fun fighter, right? I like what he brings to the table, and obviously what he brings to the table in terms of a personality coming into the UFC, but very tough fight for him here in his UFC debut against Ben Rothwell, especially on late notice. Not to mention, the last time he fought, he weighed in at 300 pounds for a super heavyweight fight. That was September of 2020. So we're talking about, 8 months ago. Hopefully, he's been able to kind of trim down a little bit so he can make the 265-pound limit. Maybe that's something that he's been trying to do over his last couple of fights so that he can actually make the weight and eventually make it to the UFC, which luckily for him, he has managed to do. Decent striking, decent ground and pound, decent overall striker. Again, deceptively athletic for his build, which is weird to say. But Ben Rothwell, I think, is going to be a tough, spot for him to overcome. There have been a couple of TKO losses on Chris Barnett's record. I think he does have a little bit of a I don't want to call it a full-out shit issue, but I do think that he will struggle against the power of Ben Rothwell if Ben Rothwell actually lets his striking go. That's my qualm. I'm not sure if Ben Rothwell is going to go out there and actually let the hands go. So I'm not trusting Ben Rothwell anywhere near that minus 300 range. I am going to pick him to win this fight. Ultimately, I'll end up saying that he wins by decision, just by staying a little bit more active and kind of, hopefully clinch fucking Chris Barnett, trying to slow him down a little bit that way. But I do like Ben Rothwell to win this fight via decision. Again, no real strong play here, as I do think that Chris Barnett is a live dog. I'm just not confident enough to actually bet it here. Let's see if some of us actually have come back. Timothy Maynard saying the stream is down. Fuck, I apologize, guys. I'm not sure 100% what is going on. What I will do, though, is if you guys want to hop onto the YouTube version of the stream that I'm doing, or sorry, the Twitter stream that I'm doing, it seems to be going okay over there. I'll put it into the chat here. I just commented the Twitter stream that you guys can watch. Exact same stream. You guys may not be able to comment, which kind of sucks, but hopefully that works. Again, try to close the YouTube, come back to the stream, see if it happens or works out. If it doesn't work out, then I apologize. Maybe you guys can watch it on the rewind or the replay. All right, let's keep this train moving along. Actually, let's see what the chat was saying before I moved on. SKD is saying Barnett's Avi looks like a video game. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Levi Whiteboy saying father of Clint. That is absolutely his father. Dan Goldstein saying I'm betting Clint's dad versus Barnett via Viance with another sprinkle on Clint Sr. via sub outright 13-1. Not bad. Thick back. Barnett's streak is padded. Dad bod wins the day. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. All right. Let's move on to the next fight here. And we got Ricardo Ramos versus Bill Algeo. So what I'm actually going to do for you guys here is, don't call me lazy for doing this, but I do want to play the breakdown that I actually did for this fight the first time that they were scheduled to fight. I don't think anything has changed, or at least in my mind, in terms of how this fight will actually play out. But I felt like I broke it down perfectly for you guys when I did it in the pre-recorded version for you guys. So give me 1 sec, and I'm going to line it up for you guys right here. Let me see if I can pull it up. All right. So this is the pre-recorded version of the Bill Algeo and Ricardo Ramos that I breakdown that I did 2 months ago. If you guys can't hear the audio, please let me know. That would be very, very, very helpful. But here we go. Ramos versus Bill Algeo just having a little bit of a brain fart there. This fight's pretty much a pick 'em. We got a slight favorite here for Bill Algeo at -115 and -105 for Ricardo Ramos. But there are certain places that you could possibly get him at +105 and +110. And it seems like the line is starting to widen a little bit. And I don't completely understand that. It might be because that we got Bill Algeo coming off a pretty dominant victory over Spike Carlisle last time around. And mixed in the fact that we've seen Ricardo Ramos knocked out in his last fight against Lerone Murphy. Let's start off on the Ramos side of things, who's a very heavily touted prospect coming into the UFC. Unfortunately, he did eat a couple of L's in his UFC career this far, but I still don't think that's truly slowed down, the prospect that he could truly be, or the fighter that he could truly be once he completes his full potential. He's 25. All right. Well, that was a failure. So I'm not going to try that again. I apologize. It seems like YouTube is just on the absolute fritz right now. So yeah, I'll just break down this fight for you guys the way that I was going to do it regardless. I always like kind of just using the breakdown that I already have if a fight has gotten canceled last minute, as I felt like the first time breaking the fights down is always the best, and that's what I always want to show you guys. But let me just add up my let me just add my screen here back for you guys. All right, so Ricardo Ramos, Bill Algeo, -120, Algeo +100 for Ricardo Ramos. Now, this fight was originally scheduled for a couple weeks ago. Let me get the actual date that they were scheduled for. April 17th, so just over a month ago, they were scheduled to fight. Ramos removed due to COVID-19 protocols. Again, I don't think it was anything that is completely going to affect his performance here, but I do still like him to win this matchup. Now, a lot of people are just throwing out the fact that Ramos was such a highly touted prospect coming into the UFC, right? -275 against Kyung Ho Kong. The favorite against Said Nurmagomedov. -380 against Journey Newson. -430 against Eduardo Garagori. And then -185 last time against Lerone Murphy. So he has dropped the ball twice as the favorite, and especially somewhat competitive fights where he's ended up dropping the ball. I'm still not a big Bill Algeo believer. I do think that he still has some issues that he needs to shore up. And I do think that Ricardo Ramos, as long as his chin kind of allows him to survive, he should be able to go out there and still have a lot of success with his, in my opinion, much better Muay Thai game, better striking game. It's just his cardio and his durability that have question marks for me. Personally, I did have Ricardo Ramos as my dog of the night play when they were originally scheduled to fight. I ended up, obviously having that bet voided. And considering that I do have a couple more safer dog of the night spots on this card, I'm ultimately going to end up passing on this fight. I saw a ton of love for Bill Algeo last time around, and I'm expecting the same thing this week. But, the line was pretty much a pick 'em with even Ricardo Ramos as a slight favorite. And then Bill Algeo got a ton of steam late in fight week, and we got the -120 now on Bill Algeo. I wouldn't even be surprised to see the line go a little bit higher. A lot of people are big on Bill Algeo. He has a weird unorthodox striking style, has some decent jiu-jitsu, decent wrestling, decent understanding of those techniques, but I do think that Ricardo Ramos has him slightly beat. Let's not forget, Ramos is only 25 years old, and people are just automatically counting him out, right? Ramos got ground and pound and finished by Lerone Murphy last time around, but that was another fight. That Ramos, played around a little bit too much, right? That was the fight where he was like throwing those weird teep or back kicks to the shins of Lerone Murphy, and then he hung out a little bit too much on the ground, and Lerone Murphy was really able to make him pay for that. Is Bill Algeo going to be able to come back and have that type of ground and pound effect? I'd be very, very surprised. but I do still like Ricardo Ramos in this fight, man. I do think that he'll have the better all-around game as long as his durability is up to par. I think he's going to give Algeo some troubles. And Algeo looked great last time around against Spike Carlisle, but that's what happens when you fight guys like Spike. You know, they have that big burst in the first round. They're able to get a win by knocking guys out early. And if you guys even saw Spike Carlisle's last fight in LFA, you know, his LFA debut, or at least I believe it was his debut, you know, looked like he was gassing out, looked like he was actually going to get finished or actually lose that fight. But a late finish in that first round actually ended up helping him bail himself out, especially with his cardio issues. Bill Algeo survived that first round and then was able to start putting it on Spike Carlisle afterwards. I don't see the same thing happening here with Ramos. My guy, again, I wish I could say his name properly here, but HDF, both guys are really hittable. I absolutely agree. Both guys can be hit. Bill Algeo keeps his hands down a lot. He has that very unorthodox style that he likes to approach his opponents with, especially in the striking. But I don't think it's going to work against Ramos here. So I do like Ramos. I do like Ramos by decision. But again, with a little bit more live dogs on the card, I'm going to be looking to pass this fight and actually hit on a couple of the dogs that I'm actually liking. So once again, I do like Ramos to win this fight. Also, it's very demoralizing seeing the live number drop, but I know that this is something that's been going all on for the last couple of days on YouTube as well. So it's unfortunately my channel is getting the brunt of it as well. So that kind of hurts. But yeah, I do like Ramos to win this fight via decision. All right, if I'm not mistaken, the next fight is the main card. Yep, we are on the main card, so that is the prelims. I do like to take this time to remind the 29 people that we currently have in the live chat to please hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know the streaming issues are a little bit too much at this point, and I apologize for that, but there's literally nothing that I can do to help that. StreamYard is saying everything is all good. That means it's a YouTube issue. It is what it is. But I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching the podcast regardless. Also, I'm sure people watching this on the replay are like, what are you talking about? The stream's fine. So yeah, I apologize for that. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. The first fight on the main card, we got Jack Hermansson versus Edmen Shahbazyan. And I'm just going to quickly put into the chat because I know a lot of people are not able to currently see this on the live side. I will remind them that it is a YouTube issue. I believe my guy Daniel Kraus is actually watching this from Twitter. So again, if you guys want to watch this live on Twitter, I will put up the link here. All right, I just dropped the link in case anybody still wants to watch it on the live side here, just like my guy Daniel K is. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys sticking around. All right, Jack Hermansson, Edmen Shahbazyan. Now, going into this when they originally scheduled to fight next week, and look at that, I messed up the middleweight bout here. 1,485-pound bout between Jack Hermansson versus Edmen Shahbazyan. Excuse me. Yeah, so middleweight bout, obviously. When I was looking at this originally pre-tape, I thought this was a great spot for Jack Hermansson, right? Should go out there and kind of replicate what Derek Brunson was successfully able to do, drag Edmen Shahbazyan into the ground and make this a grinding fight. But my issue is that, and it's weird for me to even say this, but I feel like Derek Brunson is a little bit more defensively sound, striking ever so slightly than what Jack Hermansson is, right? Well, we saw him get, pretty hit up at will by Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vettori, and even prior fights, the Jacare Souza fight was kind of hitting him too. And I think that Edmen Shahbazyan is still alive for about a round and a half to 2 rounds. I do still think that he has cardio issues. I don't think that's something that you can just shore up over the night. And I don't think that the amount of time that he took off since the Derek Brunson fight will allow him to truly shore up those cardio issues. I think if you have cardio issues, you always have cardio issues. And there's going to be a couple fighters that have, or that will be the exception to that rule, right? The only guy that truly comes to my mind that I think about that has improved cardio is Darren Stewart. But even that, you still see Darren Stewart have those flubs and those moments where he actually ends up gassing. And but like the Julian Marquez fight for him, right? he ends up tapping to a no hooks and rear naked choke, and then comes back and looks great in terms of what his cardio is over 15 minutes. But is Shahbazyan going to make those improvements? I'm not 100% sure. However, I do think that he's still competitive enough on the feet, or he has a big enough advantage on the feet over Jack Hermansson that he could probably put Jack Hermansson down and still finish him with strikes. So I'm ultimately going to go with Edmen Shahbazyan here, which is a weird take considering that I was one of the few guys that was on Derek Brunson last time around. But one, the line isn't as intriguing on Jack Hermansson, obviously being a minus 155 favorite compared to the plus 300 that we were getting on Derek Brunson last time around. But I do think that Shahbazyan is still sharp on the feet. I still think he's a very skilled kid. The kid's only 23 years old. Let's not throw him to the side already. And the more you look at this fight, the more that you can actually believe that he should go out there and put it on Jack Hermansson. I do think that Shahbazyan has the better hands. I think he has more power. And I do think that he's going to be live enough to finish Jack Hermansson here. So if I'm not mistaken, some of the lines that I've been seeing is Edmen Shahbazyan winning in round 1 is plus 600. Plus 325 is now what I'm seeing for Shahbazyan in round 1. I think that's a great line. Shahbazyan by KO plus 265. You guys can even take that one. I do think that he is live enough to go out there and knock out Jack Hermansson here. Now, if this fight gets past that round and a half mark, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical. I'm going to be a little bit sketched out. But I do think that he's still going to be able to go out there and have a good performance in those first 2 rounds. If not knock out Jack Hermansson, I think he should at least survive that 3rd round here against Jack. But again, got to be very careful. It was a very underwhelming performance last time around, and Jack could replicate what Derek Brunson does, but I do think that we're going to see a better Edmen Shahbazyan this time around, and I think we'll see him go back to his early finishing ways as he did before that Derek Brunson fight. So yeah, I got Edmen Shahbazyan by knockout. Brett Z saying, am I high or is Joker the lock of the night? I don't see how he loses. I pretty much just broke it down for you right now, buddy. I don't think he is that defensively sound when it comes to the striking realm. I think that Shahbazyan, who, again, I do think is a very good striker. I think he could expose that in Jack Hermansson. And that's, again, people just throwing Shahbazyan to the side. What have you done for me lately, right? Shahbazyan loses one fight coming in as a minus 360 favorite. Now he means nothing to anybody. Don't get sucked into that. Hermansson could win. Don't get me wrong. Hermansson could win. But I don't think that Shahbazyan has a good enough chance to go out there and replicate what he did in his first UFC stretch and get that first round knockout. But he's saying Jack's top game is nasty. Yeah. But, like, will he successfully get there in that first round? Not 100% sure. Justin Villegas saying, damn, now I got to spend more time with my girl. Damn it, Lock Night. Everyone have a good night. No worries. Lock Night show was good. Going good as always. You can watch on the repeat. I'm not sure if my guy Justin is still around. Sexar is saying Jack is kind of a girly man. That's a weird approach. Levi White Bull, Shahbazyan by KO. Yep, that's what I like. SKD hasn't Hermansson demonstrated his chin lately. Again, Vettori, more of a bull rusher. Again, I think that Shahbazyan actually hits harder than Vettori. The Gastelum fight, we don't really get to see that play out on the feet too much. And obviously before that goes out there and gets knocked out by Jared Cannonier. Again, I think Edmen is one of the better skilled strikers in this division. I think it's going to be hard for Hermansson to deal with that. All right. Next fight, we got Raulian Paiva versus David Dvorak. Now, Dvorak, very good UFC stretch so far, 2-0, decisive victories in his last 2 fights against Bruno Silva, who I obviously gave as my very solid pick for this card earlier in the card. And then Jordan Espinosa as well. Very good performance from David Dvorak with good leg kicks, good combinations, really keeping Jordan Espinosa guessing and really didn't allow Jordan Espinosa to get his wrestling game going or even his speed to really take much of a factor. Raulian Paiva, plus 125. I think I really like him as a dog spot here. Now, I've been kind of touting the horn of Raulian Paiva as a dog that I'm, a dark horse in this division. I was going to call him a dork horse. I call him a dark horse in this division as I do think he's a very skilled fighter. Not to mention, he could possibly be undefeated in the UFC right now. The Kai Kara-France fight, UFC 243, in the hometown of Kai Kara-France. I believe that Kara-France got a hometown robbery that night. The Hadzovic Bontorin fight gets a nasty cut on his forehead after cutting up Bontorin himself. And then unfortunately they stopped the Paiva side, and Paiva did have a really bad cut, so I don't blame him there. But again, if that fight went much longer, I think that Paiva would have outstruck Bontorin for the majority of it and then maybe finished him later or at least gotten the decision. Montana De La Rosa, we saw what Paiva is when he's at his best, goes out there and finishes De La Rosa relatively quickly. So good win for him there. And then the Zalgas Zumagulov fight. Zumagulov, decent technical striker, not the greatest output, which is why Paiva was able to get the win in that fight, just completely outstriking him and having a much better overall game. I think that Paiva, very good frame for this division, 5'8", 69-inch reach. Obviously, that's on the higher side compared to most of the flyweights in this division. And then Dvorak has a really good technical striking game, but I think he's going to deal with the outside striking or the distance striking of Paiva in this fight. I think Paiva moves good enough to at least land the better combinations, land the better strikes. That's going to get him the judge's nod in most of these rounds. And I do think that Paiva goes out there and springs the upset. Now, Paiva last time around against Zalgas Zumagulov, 52 strikes. Total strikes was 56 to 73. Zalgas did outstrike him there, but I do think that we saw the more impactful shots from Raulian Paiva, which is why I believe he deserved to win that fight. Dvorak, again, decent volume striker, 68 strikes last time around, 67 before that. But I think he's going to have troubles kind of tracking down Paiva here compared to his last two opponents who are a little bit more willing to engage in the pocket. Paiva will be on his bicycle a little bit more. I wouldn't even be surprised if Paiva wants to take this fight to the ground or at least try to clinch up with him and overpower him. But I do think he does his best work when he's on the outside and chipping away at these guys with his strikes. So I do like Paiva here. I do think he ends up getting the decision. I do think that Dvorak does have a bright future of his own, but stylistically speaking, I don't think that this is a great matchup for him. So ultimately, I will end up going with Paiva to win this fight, and I'm going to take him to win this fight via decision, and definitely one of my stronger dog leans on this card. Levi White was saying prospect versus prospect. Yeah, I agree. Again, Paiva only 25 years old, so let's be very careful in terms of automatically writing him off because he has 2 losses early in his UFC career. Man, it's really bumming me out that we only have 18 live viewers on YouTube. I know on the Twitter world or through Twitter, we got another, 15, 20. Such a bummer. Hopefully YouTube gets his shit together next time so it's not as bad throughout the week. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. Still going hard for the people that are watching this on the replay, and they're like, what are you talking about? The stream looks fine. No, it doesn't. Things do not look good here at all. All right. Felicia Spencer going up against Norma Dumont. And this is a fight that we've been seeing a lot of action on, especially on the Norma Dumont side, right? Let me just pull this up. So Felicia Spencer opened as a -215 favorite. She gets brought down to -140-ish. Now she's back up to -160. I think that was more so the line kind of just settling out and, people seeking the value on Norma Dumont, which I don't blame them for. Ultimately, I think that Spencer deserves to be the favorite here, and I think she wins this fight with somewhat ease. There are question marks about what Norma Dumont looks like off of her back. That is something that I'd like to find out. That's something that we'll definitely find out with Felicia Spencer this weekend. Norma Dumont seems like she might have the better striking than Spencer, but I don't think it's to the point where she's going to go out there and land these crazy strikes and, nuke Felicia Spencer and put her out. Felicia Spencer went in a hard 25 minutes with Amanda Nunes and was able to see the judges' scorecards at the end of it. Sure, there were possibly numerous amounts of occasions where you can say that the referee should have ended up stopping it. But, Felicia Spencer's durability pulls through and she sees the final scorecards. Even Cyborg, right? She goes 15 minutes with Cyborg without getting finished. So hats off to her as well. But I think that this is a great matchup for her to go out there and absolutely crowd Norma Dumont and get her to the ground and start grinding her out. Maybe even find a finish of her own, but I don't really know the level of Dumont's ground game, and that's an issue for me in terms of truly investing in Felicia Spencer in this spot. I do lean her a little bit more. I do think that she deserves to be the favorite, and I do think that she's going to have a lot of success in terms of getting Dumont down and controlling her, because she does have a pretty good top game, and I think that's where she does her best work. She finds submissions or she grinds you out. I'm not 100% sure she'll grind out Dumont or find the submission, but ultimately I'm going to go with the decision just to stay on the safe side, as there are a lot of unknowns about Dumont still. The only real fights that we've seen a lot of good stuff from her was like the Ashley Evans Smith fight. outside of that, there's very scarce footage on the regional scene. She showed great striking in the Evan Smith fight, and not a lot of people expected that. And again, in the Megan Anderson fight, that didn't really play out too much for us to truly see what Norma Dumont brought to the table. With Felicia Spencer, we know she's a former Invicta champion, got a title shot in the UFC. High-level fighter at 145 pounds relative to what the rest of the competition brings to the table. If I'm not mistaken, also Norma Dumont last time around was scheduled to fight at 135 pounds. She misses weight there, so they make her go up to 145 pounds to try to get her back into the UFC and see how that goes. But at the end of the day, I'm going Felicia Spencer. I think she decisions her, but a submission wouldn't surprise me, again, considering the lack of knowledge that we have regarding Norma Dumont and what she looks like off of her back. Spencer to win by submission is plus 300. Spencer to win by KO plus 900. That wouldn't be a bad spot. And now the reason I say that is, what if we get a potential TKO here, right? Ground and pound. What if Spencer's not able to lock up a submission, but she's always able to get dominant position, whether it's top, full mount, whatever it is, and she just lets Donkey Kong punches go or something like that. So Spencer by KO plus 900 is not a bad line. But ultimately, I'm going to take her to win this fight via a decision. All right, let's see what the chat is saying here. My guy Sun Tzu, shout out my guy Zoe. 3 absolutes in life. A straight male should never walk into a bar named Harpooned. Check. 2, knockout therapies last should be granted landmark status. Check. 3, Felicia Spencer will nuke Dumont. You think that Felicia Spencer will finish Norma Dumont? I'd be surprised. I know my guy Joe is just as much of a women's MMA whisperer as I am, but I'm not as confident in him in terms of nuking Dumont. But I do think that Spencer wins this fight with relative ease. Levi Whitebolt thinks that Spencer is lock of the night. I wouldn't be surprised with that. Daniel K saying Felicia Spencer and under 2.5. Interesting. Under 2.5 is plus 160. Not too bad of a spot. Nicholas West, Spencer's going to win me a lot of freaking money. Yeah, I do like her in this spot. I do think she wins. Sex God Broad, the Spencer line movement is actually crazy. Like, is this real life? Yeah. A lot of people were sold on Dumont after that one win over Ashley Evan Smith. Is what it is, guys. Darth Vader, Norma, do not bet her. I like it. I like it. Darth Vader, is this a ranked fight? Number 1 versus number 2. This division got like 6 people in it. I think I'm ranked in this division. It's so sad that they can't even come up with a top 10. Very, very unfortunate for them there. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Justin Tafa against Jared Vanderaa. Do I really need to spend that much time on this fight? Justin Tafa going out there and proving all the haters wrong in his fight against Carlos Felipe, where he came in as a plus 160 dog, and I thought he deserved to win that fight. I was holding a Carlos Felipe parlay ticket for some goddamn reason, and I thought I lost that ticket. Luckily, the judges were blinded, and they gave the fight to Carlos Felipe, but I thought that Justin Tafa won that fight. He showed great patience, showed great leg kicks, showed great body work as well, showed a good cardio as well. He was able to go out there for 15 minutes and strike with Carlos Felipe. Felipe seemed like he was just completely gun-shy and just couldn't let his punches go, but Justin Tafa was letting his strikes go, and again, I thought he deserved to win that fight. So my perception on Justin Tafa has absolutely changed since the fight against Yorgan De Castro, and even before Yorgan De Castro. Again, I didn't rate him that highly, but I do think that this is a great matchup for him against Jared Vanderaa. As long as he doesn't get knocked out, and as long as he doesn't get grapple fucked by Jared Vanderaa here, I think that Tafa should be able to find the chin and then eventually finish Vanderaa probably in the 2nd or 3rd round. Is there a lock of the night play type of confidence? No. Again, Justin Tafa, I do think that he's primarily a striker. I think that if Vanderaa wants to bring a grapple-heavy approach here, he could do so, and he could be successful with it. But I'm not banking on it. I'm not trusting Jared Vanderaa as a dog. I'm not trusting Justin Tafa as a minus 185 favorite. But this seems like a good fight for Tafa to go out there, get his striking going, and really put it on Vanderaa, and then eventually find that knockout. So I'll go Justin Tafa via 2nd round knockout in this fight. Not a lock of the night play, though. Levi Whitebull, Vanderaa by ground and pound TKO. Darth Vader saying Tafa going to get De Castro. See, that's the issue that I have. I know there are the people that have the belief that Jared Vanderaa will take the grapple heavy approach, which he could absolutely do. Going to be tough, though. Going to be tough. But I got Tafa by 2nd round TKO. No real confidence on that spot. All right, Carla Esparza versus Yan Xiaonan. A lot of people, a lot of thoughts about this fight. Carla Esparza, that line moving heavily. Plus 160 is what she opened up at. She started settling around plus 140, and then she got down to plus 105. But after running the tape, I hate to say this, especially as somebody that's a big fan of Yan Xiaonan, I think that this is a very tough opponent for her and Carla Esparza, who we know is probably one of the best, if not the best, grappler wrestling-wise in this division. Tatiana Suarez probably has something to say about that. And okay, you know what? I'll say Carla Esparza, second best wrestler in this division, because Tatiana Suarez absolutely destroyed her when they fought. And you can't really blame Carla Esparza for losing that fight the way that she did. But every other fight, Carla Esparza goes out there, grounds her opponents, even has some good striking exchanges. In the Michelle Waterson fight, that fight primarily took place in the striking realm, and Waterson did not let her strikes go. Carla Esparza was the one actually pushing the pace on the feet and actually able to kind of outpoint her there and win that fight via decision. But we're not saying that Carla Esparza needs to go out there and strike with Yan Xiaonan. That would not be advised whatsoever, just like the Marina Rodriguez fight. The Marina Rodriguez fight was a huge head scratcher, right? I believe I backed Esparza as a dog in that fight, but has good top control, has good success there, and then just jumps back for a heel hook for some reason in the first and second round. Very, very weird. Rodriguez gets out of those positions and then starts raining down big shots from on top. Thankfully, the judges didn't score that too heavily and did score the control time for Carla Esparza more. And then in the third round, Carla Esparza looks a little bit beat up, took a lot of damage, but is able to secure the takedown with her wrestling background and then grind out that fight to win that fight via decision. Now, this, stylistically speaking, is pretty much the same fight with Yan Xiaonan. Marina Rodriguez and Yan are very similar. I think that Marina has a little bit more tools in the shed in terms of being an overall MMA striker, where Yan, most of her striking, I'd say most of her damage comes from her hands, because she has some very, very good hands and a lot of power behind them too. Obviously, no finishes in the UFC to this point, but she does damage her opponents a lot. Not to mention that Karolina Kovacevic fight, where she just absolutely brutalized her eye. And, that fight was close to being stopped too, as Karolina probably wasn't able to see out of one of those eyes. The Claudio Gadelha fight, that's the main one that we really got to look with here, or look at here in terms of seeing how successful can Carla Esparza be. And given how successful Claudio was in terms of initiating the clinch, landing takedowns, having decent top control, I think Carla Esparza can do that, but better, because we know Carla has a better gas tank compared to Claudia Gadelha. We know Carla Esparza has again, second best wrestling game in this division. And Yan Xiaonan, even several fights into the UFC now, still shows issues in terms of being taken down. And again, I'm a big Yan fan. I do think that, stylistically speaking, if she can go in there against other fighters that are not named Carla Esparza, she can come out on the winning end. Again, the Claudia Gadelha fight, good stylistic matchup for her, because, yeah, she's probably going to lose that first round. But then after that, we know Claudia slows down, and that's where Yan was able to keep the pace. And that's what Yan does. She doesn't overexert herself early in the fights. She keeps the same pressure as she did in the first round all the way to the third round. She keeps her strikes going. Same level of power, same level of confidence, great combinations. And I think that works against certain opponents. But she's going to be fighting off her back a lot in this fight against Carla Esparza, as I do think that Carla would ground her pretty much every single round. And I think that she'll be able to grind out this fight and win it via decision. So I like Carla. I like Carla via decision, which is currently sitting at Carla via decision, plus 168. Beautiful, beautiful line. Plus 140 at a couple places. Beautiful line as well. Carla Esparza by submission, plus 800 is worth a little bit of the sprinkle, but I don't want to give you guys too much confidence in that, just because the only real submission threat that I think we've truly seen Yan Xiaonan in is that triangle that Angela Hill had at the end of the first round against her a couple fights ago. I don't see Carla getting into that position. Again, Carla more so likes to go out there and kind of control her opponents on the ground, doesn't really seek submissions or anything like that. And I don't blame her, right? I think that her jiu-jitsu game is not up to par with her wrestling, but it's still good enough to keep her out of trouble, keep herself out of submissions. And, again, for her, it's position over submission, whereas other fighters, it's more so the other way around. But Carla, it's been working out for her, especially on this 4-fight winning streak, going up against very, very heavy strikers. Alexa Grasso, very good striker. Marina Rodriguez, very good striker. Yan Xiaonan, very good striker, but questionable takedown defense, which is ultimately why I have to go against my heart, and I got to pick Carla Esparza to win this fight by decision. All right, let's see what the chat is saying here. Levi White Bull, Cookie Monster for the decision win. I agree. Now the line has moved. I wish I got a little bit more on Carla. Yeah, I wish I got on the tape a little bit more earlier on that one too, because those lines were absolutely crazy. Plus 140, absolutely crazy. I do still think that Esparza deserves to be the favorite here, so I wouldn't even mind even betting her, at this underdog odds. My guy, I'm in Killer saying plus 130 steal for Edmen Shahbazyan. I agree. My guy, MMA experts, shout out AJ, stopping by the chat, saying what up. Seems like YouTube's issues are finally over with. Most people are hopping back onto the streams now, so shout out to everybody there. Darth Vader rose to the winner, so you've chosen death. Yes. Danny K, I like Carla too. Yep, I think she's a good spot. I'm in Kayla. Rob Font beat Marlon, so now he beats Cody. Okay. Darth Vader, so many decision on the 5 on in. We thinking about putting life savings on FICO's a decision. I would not put life savings on anything. Wael Al Gaban, if Yan's still training at Team Alpha Male, would think her wrestling defense should be more improved. Again, it just looked so bad last time around, right? I'm not sure how much it's really going to improve, especially against a fighter like Carla Esparza, who, again, second best wrestler in this division. Some people, all I gotta say. The Gaming Wolf 87, I like Carla as a dog. I absolutely agree. All right, main event time. Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt. The line has been bouncing back and forth all week, right? Plus 110 is what Rob Font opened at. Got him down to minus 130, now back up to minus 110. And I gotta say, I lean the Rob Font side ever so slightly. I do think that Font a little bit more versatile of a striker in terms of being a more 8-limbed striker compared to Cody Garbrandt, who seems to have his best success with getting his striking going with his hands, more of a boxer than anything. Big power in his hands, as we obviously saw last time around, where he was able to stiff Rafael Sansa, a beautiful finish from him there. And Cody Garbrandt looks, when he's on, he looks great. As long as he doesn't go out there and get absolutely like starched like he did against TJ Dillashaw and Pedro Munoz, he should be able to have solid performances. But I feel like Rob Font has all the makings to go out there and absolutely put a good show on against Cody Garbrandt. Does he finish him? I'm not 100% sure. Rob Font, we've seen what his kryptonite has been is when guys are able to take him down and kind of grind him out the way that Rafael Sansa did. A really good performance from him there. Again, Sansa mixed up the whole MMA game to really get the win there. But man, I'm having super hard time really like figuring this fight out. But I do end up on the Rob Font side more often than not. It's also the chin of Cody Garbrandt that gives me a little bit of worries. Again, when he's on his P's and Q's and minds all of his shit, he looks like a world beater. But if he gets clipped, Rob Font, I think, has big enough power to actually hurt him and actually give him some issues here too. Shout out to my guy, Zach Johnson, absolutely reminding us as well to the reach here, right? We got a 6-inch reach advantage for Rob Font, who could potentially use that very, very properly. Same height, more experience for Rob Font. Cody Garbrandt obviously making it to the pinnacle of the division by winning the title and then ultimately losing it shortly thereafter. But I do think that Font presents some troubles here that Cody Garbrandt's gonna struggle to deal with. Again, a full Muay Thai game, a full kickboxing game. Mark Delagrati trained Rob Font. I think that he's gonna, have a lot of success. Not to mention Rob Font's a part of that whole New England cartel movement with Calvin Kattar and those guys. Obviously, Kattar coming off the worst beating in his career, but Rob Font's really been scorching, right? Sergio Perez, Ricky Simone, Marlon Moraes, very, very good wins from him, especially very dominantly last time around against Marlon Moraes. But people can say what they want about Moraes being broken at this point in time. But Rob Font went out there, did what he was supposed to do, still a plus 150 underdog in that fight, and went out there and finished Marlon Moraes in that first fight or first round. So very, very good performance from him there. Again, I think Cody gets the better of the boxing, but I think Rob Font has the better overall striking. I can see Rob Font attacking this from a kick-heavy approach, trying to slow down Cody Garbrandt with leg kicks, maybe look at the calf kick as a way to slow down Cody Garbrandt, try to keep him on the outside so he can get his strikes going after that. Yeah, I just think that Rob Font has a little bit more tools. Again, when Cody Garbrandt's on, he's fucking on. We see the Dominic Cruz performance for him. The Rafael Sansa fight, right? It wasn't really blowing him away per se, but having good enough success in that fight up until the point that he ends up knocking him out, I believe, at the ending of that second round. But I still ultimately do have Rob Font here, and I do think that Font can finish him late. He's going to catch him with something. He's going to catch him with a great combination, and then eventually put out Rob Font. I think he puts out Cody Garbrandt probably third or fourth round here. So I'll go Rob Font, third round TKO. But that hurts to say, man. Cody's such a good fucking fighter. I could be off on this one, but confidence on this one is very, very low. But I'm going to go with Rob Font here. All right. Amin, you're out of here, brother. This guy's a little bit too much. Soft. It's so hard to see a guy that whatever, fuck him. All right. Let's see what the chat is saying here. Dancing font scorecards, no action. I like that. That's a very good approach to this. Brett Z is saying Cody's faster, younger, and hits harder. I agree with pretty much all three assessments there, but I do think that Font brings a much better striking game, to be honest. Overall. Darth Vader, there should be a bet on Algeo tweet or anything anytime a borderline Italy goes striker cruise. Zach Johnson, Cody got hard. It's hard to bet against. True. Dan, I had a big play on Charlie Owen. We'll be back in Font, so no, exactly. The trolls are out today, is all I gotta say. Darth Vader, Font's boxing is super crisp. If Cody's chin holds up, it'll be a fucking war. Doubt it. Though I'll probably make my picks and then fade them the day of. Again, I'm not gonna have any big money out of here. I'm not gonna have any big money in this on this card or on this fight specifically. Very, very close fight. The Gaming Wolf, I agree with you on Font. The fight my outside inside in a decision, then inside the distance. The Czar, Lachlan and I always had a good viewpoint, no matter what the outcome. Listen close. Magni was a great pick if you had, and that I took that one going 7-1. Yes, sir. Joseph Sasso seems to know that guy that I just blocked. Never seen that guy around before, but that first comment was worthy of a block. Killer G, that Font jab is sexy. Yeah. Cody Garbrandt has a very good boxing game of his own, so very close. Nick Sisson, what's up, my man? I just got here. I'll have stitches on okay. The Two-Shot GG seems like the trolls get to you every stream. Just remember them. Yes, sir. Zara has taking Cody by KO. Could see it. Again, I don't want to be too far gone on that one. No real heavy confidence on Font, but I do lean him at the end of the day. All right, last thing I want to drop for you guys is actually the lineup for this weekend's Ultimate Weigh-In Show, Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, as you guys obviously know. Ultimate Weigh-In Show. I have a rotating crew of guys that I bring in. This weekend, we got my guy Dave Millhouse from Millhouse Sports. Very sharp guy. I do the line sniper HQ show with him once a month at least. So good guy there, very sharp guy, very analytical, statistics driven, but very smart dude too. So he's going to be the first guest I have on. I'll also have not Fight Night Picks, the whole crew, but I'll have Craig. Craig Allen is going to be coming on the show and helping us break down the fights one last time at 9 p.m. Eastern. Very much looking forward to that one. I've done a couple streams with Craig before. Very smart guy, very sharp guy, very good guy. So very happy to have him on. And then lastly, we're going to have my guy, Brian Peachtree from MMA Takes Podcast. Very solid guy himself too, very professional behind the mic, and I can't wait to have him on the stream with me. I've had him in the past on one of my streams. I can't remember which one, but very solid guy, very sharp guy as well, and very entertaining too. So I'm very much looking forward to having him on. So yeah, great group of guys that I have coming up for you guys this weekend, and I can't wait to get into it with you guys and them as well. All right, let's see what the chat is saying here. And then I'm going to get the fuck up on out of here. My guy Dan is saying stream cut out earlier. Did you already say what you are considering for a Lock of the Night play? Lock of the Night play is already posted on the Patreon. It won't come out to the public until Friday. So Friday evening, I'll drop it on my social medias, Instagram, Twitter. Line will more than likely not be the same. It's already moved since I've made the bet. If you want to see it ASAP, it's on the Patreon. Otherwise, you got to wait till Friday. That's when I'll be posting it. And again, if you missed most of the stream, please do watch it on the replay. There has been issues with YouTube throughout the week that's been affecting live streams. So if you guys want to catch the rest of the breakdowns, as soon as I hop off on this, I'll be adding the timestamp so you guys can go right to the fight that you guys want to hear about. And hopefully that helps you out as well. Let's see what the chat is saying, and then I'm getting the fuck up out of here. The Czar really likes MMA expert. He's good on big fights. I agree. Very solid guy. Darth Vader, I do lines. I got you, brother. Joseph Sasso, don't underestimate the boxing of Cody in this fight. I think he's frustrating clearing the Rob fought on the feet. Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from him. I do think that Cody, this fight is like accurately lined. Pick him. Absolutely agree. We'll see who can go out there and implement their game a little bit better. Thank you, Nicholas West, for stopping by. Darth Vader saying Craig's the man. Fight Night Picks is legit as fuck. Yep. Canadian brethren. So I love those guys. Can't wait to have Craig on to help break down the fights with me. Brett C saying Craig is the better brother. You guys are awesome. I'm not putting them against each other. Killer G saying, yo, Lock, did you get on your boy tested who's under the basketball game straight money? I've been trying to track the total as I was doing the stream. Let me know what the picks are, if it actually hit. Well, it did hit according to you, but what was the number? Because I got under 232.5. Let me know if they hit the under 232.5. Killer G, let's cash this weekend. Thanks for the breakdown. Sorry for the late coming. Is my guy, the Gaming Wolf 87. Don't worry. Nobody's ever going to be on time. It's fine. Killer G saying it was 228. Then we cashed, baby. I put $1,000 on that shit. So that's like what, $870. That was able to cash off that. I got an MLB parlay finishing up right now too. I got the under 9 in the Blue Jays fight and the Blue Jays game. That hit. And then I have a parlay with Detroit Tigers, who are up 2-0, and I have Houston Astros as well. They were up the last time I checked. Now it's 3-3. So hopefully Astros are able to pull it out for you, boy. All right, let's see. Marley, always look forward to every Friday and Thursday with the prop show. Is awesome. I do. Yeah, Cody's a G. I love doing that show with him. Darth Vader, you the man, Lock. Appreciate you always. Give Matt some shit. He said there was no world Jacare would get submitted. To be fair, no one saw it coming, but he said it on camera. Matt won't be on with me. It would just be Craig, but I'll be sure to pass along the message. But you can pass it along yourself too. If you come back for 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday. My guy Sansu, was that $1,000 in real money or Canadian? It was in my Monopoly Canadian money. So I'll still take it, Sansu. I'll still take it. All right. Appreciate everybody checking out the stream. Again, if you guys want to support your boy, the best way to do that is hitting up the Patreon, patreon.com/MMALOTN. The link is in the description below as well. Lock of the Night play is already up there. I'll be posting a Dog of the Night play in the next day or so, just confirming who I want to make that play. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Free picks will come out Friday after my Ultimate Weigh-In show. It's going to come out on my social medias, on the Instagram and Twitter. So if you guys want to see it, check out there. All right. I'll see you guys Thursday. Thursday is the next time I'm going to be doing a live stream. I might do a Locky late night tonight, maybe, or tomorrow night. It's been a long time since I've done a Locky late night, but I do want to satisfy that crowd. You guys love doing the lucky late nights with your boy, so I might do that either tonight or tomorrow night. So be on the lookout for that. All right. That's about it. I'm going to quick jibber jabbering. Appreciate you guys checking out the stream. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way out. Good luck with your bets this week, and I'll see you guys throughout the week for even more UFC Vegas 27 content. Appreciate you guys hanging with your boy.